Good afternoon, learners and teachers from the Western Cape, but also learners and teachers in the other provinces. Welcome to this first Business Studies Telematics session for 2018. And from the outset, I would want to make it clear that the focus of this session will be exams preparation. We know that the learners writing the supplementary will be writing soon. So this session has specially been designed for them. But if you're currently in grade 12, very soon you'll be writing a control test also. And if you sit back and relax, this session will help you also through that process. I would like to introduce my co-presenter, Mrs. Lewis. Mrs. Lewis, welcome back to the telematics session, or should you rather welcome me back?
Good afternoon, Lester. Mr. Momberg. It's an honor and a privilege to be co-presenting today's session with you. And so let's focus on revising as much of this question paper as you can for the learners.
Absolutely. Ms. Lewis, could you tell me quickly the supplementary examination? Do you perhaps know on which date are they writing?
Yes, sir. They write on the 27th of March. And to date, we have about 36 days before the exam.
Wow, only 36 days.
Only 36 days.
Learners, yeah, you've got 36 days before you write that supplementary. I know you might have been disappointed with your results at the end of 2017. But if you listen to what we're going to say today, we'll take you through how do you prepare for the exams and how do you focus on the topics that's important and how do you approach answering Section A, Section B, and Section C questions. Now, we are going to work exclusively from the telematics resource booklet. Now, this booklet was issued to all the districts and the schools that are part of the telematics project. However, please do not try and write down any of the questions that's going to appear on the screen. What I will do, I will upload the question paper and the booklet onto the WCED portal. By the end of the week, it will be on the portal. And if you're in a real hurry to get a copy of this resource booklet, because this booklet covers all the sessions we're going to have for 2018, my email address is ldmomberg@gmail.com. Just drop me an email and I will gladly forward you a copy, not only of the resource booklet, but also of the PowerPoint. Ms. Lewis, what are we going to do today?
So today, learners, we are going to look at the following. And first and foremost, we are going to speak about the 4 main topics and the topics within these main topics. Once we've done that, we will look at the structure of the question paper that you are going to be writing. Then we will focus on answering Section A type questions. So we will look at a few tips there, as well as working through a typical question 1 with you. We will then focus on tips for Section B, writing of Section B questions, as well as answering Section B type questions. And then we will focus on answering Section C type questions. And we all know that that's the essay type question. And learners, I know that this is your least favorite question on the question paper. But it's actually not so daunting, and hopefully we'll be able to show you how easy it is.
I almost said cool, but I'm going to say cool. Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. I'm sure there are learners sitting there and saying to themselves, I wonder, why didn't we have this presentation last year already before we wrote the final examination? And certainly it would have helped them a lot. Learners, please let us know where you are tuned in. The WhatsApp number is 083 792 1239. WhatsApp number 083 792 1239. Let us know where you're tuned in so that we can acknowledge your presence, and also the schools and any educators also watching with the learners, let us know. Give us a shout out and we will certainly acknowledge your presence also. The SMS number is 31498, 31498. Ms. Lewis, let's get the ball rolling. Section A, or the structure of the question paper. Do you want to talk about that quickly?
Don't you just want to go back one
Want to go back
slide?
quickly?
Let's just look at the main topics. And so learners, you know that in business studies there are 4 main topics, namely business environment, business ventures, business roles, and business operations. Then you will look at the impact of recent legislation on business response to demands for redress and equity under business environments. You will also you would have studied strategies. You would also have studied the sectors and the environments. In business ventures, you would look at investment securities, investment, insurance, forms of ownership, presentation of information, management and leadership. Then in the business roles main topic, you would have addressed professionalism and ethics, creative thinking, concept of corporate social responsibility and CSI, team performance, assessment and conflict management, as well as human rights, inclusivity and environmental issues. And then finally in business operations, which is the 4th main topic, you only have human resource function and quality of performance within business functions to study. And so learners, what's important about these main topics and the topics within the list is to ensure that you know exactly what you need to cover for each of the main topics, because your question paper, choosing your questions appropriately on your question paper depends on this, and also because you want to ensure that you go into the exam fully prepared.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. I think important also to note, learners, is that when you study business operations, it's important that you must study both topics under business operations and not choose one.
Yes.
So you'll have to study human resource function and quality of performance within the business function.
I think, Mr. Momberg, it's important for learners to know that they need to cover the curriculum in its entirety. So it's preferable for them to study all of the work as is on this slide. And if you can tick off, it will be easier, because then you know you have covered it all.
But also important to remember not to study it piecemeal.
Yes.
By that I mean, don't study professionalism and ethics, and then after that investment, and then the sectors.
Yes.
If you're going to study professionalism and ethics, study creative thinking, CSR and CSI, team performance and human rights together,
Yes.
collectively.
As one topic, yes.
As one main topic.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Lewis, the structure of the question paper, I think we could just briefly go through that for the learners.
Okay, so the structure of the question paper you are all familiar with, learners. You have section A, and section A is out of 40 marks. This is also the compulsory question. So don't forget, you must do this question. Question 1, all of you must do. It's also based on business environments, ventures, roles and operations. And you'll note on the slide I've called it EVRO. It's just a shortened form or an abbreviation of the main topics.
Okay, so the E would be for?
Environments,
The V,
ventures,
R,
roles,
and O?
operations.
Oh, cool.
And so all of your work will be tested. Then, in this particular question, you can expect multiple choice questions. You can expect complete statements choosing from the words listed, and you can expect a match column A and column B question.
Ms. Lewis, yeah. Yes, in section A, they will be assessed on EVRO.
Yes.
And each of those main topics will count 10 marks. 10 marks for environments, 10 for ventures, 10 for roles, and 10 for operations to give you that 40.
Correct.
Section B, what happens there?
So in section B, learners, 5 questions are set. And from these questions, you have question 2 being based on business environments. Question 3 is based on business ventures. Question 4 on business roles. Question 5 on business operations. And question 6 is your miscellaneous question. And similarly with question 1, it is also based on EVRO, namely all of the business functions. Each of these questions are worth 60 marks each, and you are required to choose 3 questions in section B. So the total for the section B is 180 marks.
And section C, what's important to remember there?
For section C, again, it is important that you choose 2 of the essay type questions that are offered on offer. Therefore, the section counts 80 marks, and your choice comes from 4 main topics again. So the 4 questions, namely question 7 based on business environments, question 8 based on business ventures, question 9 on the roles, and question 10 on business operations. And then just to summarize, learners, your total marks for the question paper is 300 marks. So 40 marks in section A, 180 marks in section B, and 80 marks in section C. Section A consisting of question 1, namely the multiple choice questions, the one-word answer questions, and the matching columns questions. Questions 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, also based on environments, ventures, roles, and operations. But the question types vary, and they have more direct questions, case study or scenario questions, and there may be a question that requires you to calculate. That's usually in business ventures. And so that's the only time that you would do a calculation. And then in section C, questions 7, 8, 9, and 10, also based on the 4 main topics, and those are your essay type questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Just to recap, question 1, 40 marks. Question 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the total marks per question is 60.
Correct.
And for question 7, 8, 9, 10, the 40 marks per question.
Per question.
Section A type questions, Ms. Lewis. I wonder, before we get there, I just need to acknowledge the presence of the learners at Kensington High School. They say they are tuned in. Also, the learners from Steenberg High School, welcome to you also. And then there's the number 4, ends with 9450. Also tuned in, says hi. Please let us know the name of the school. If it's a learner, the name of the learner. And I think we had another one. The learners from Bishop Demont Secondary School in Aliwal North. Is that in the Eastern Cape?
That is in the Eastern Cape.
Welcome to you also. And it's a teacher, Mrs. Joubert, with the learners enjoying this session. Again, let us know where you're tuned in, and then we will acknowledge your presence. Ms. Lewis, section A. Now,
Okay.
learners should get easily about 30 out of 40 for section A. Why do they struggle with this section?
First of all, sir, what is important, learners, is that you have to time yourself. Time is of the essence, because this is the easiest section on the question paper, and this is a section that you can practice. And we are what we practice. So if we want to run a bit faster as an athlete, then we know we have to put in the time on the track. And so in order to master this section, I encourage you to get hold of as many question 1s as you possibly can and practice. But the key is to time yourself. And so with multiple choice questions, what you should be doing is, can we just see the next bullet there, please, sir? The important thing is to read the statement carefully and then read the options that are given in A, B, C, or D. And so once you understand what the question wants you to do, it's easy to eliminate the most incorrect answer at first. If you haven't found the clues in the statement or question, and you still can't find the answer in the distractors, then read it carefully again and look for the most correct answer. In that way, you will find the answer. Please don't just guess. Sometimes you just overlook the clue. Also, numbering is very important. So when you start this particular section, ensure that you head your answer script, if you choose to write it, headed question 1 and then don't forget to number it, because question 1 is always 1.1.1. It always starts there. And then the next section will move on to 1.2 and then the next section on to 1.3. And if you by any chance work through the questions and you miss one, be very careful, because that can affect your numbering, and numbering is very important. And
I wonder, Mrs. Lewis, just before we continue, the WhatsApp messages is coming in fast and furious. So let me just acknowledge the presence of some of the learners and teachers. Hello, I'm enjoying this section from Nompumelelo in the Eastern Cape. And they say they're enjoying it. The learners from West Bank Secondary School, again in the Eastern Cape, also tuned in. We say welcome to them. Hi, Beliswa from Breitbach Secondary. He says he's watching. It's coming in fast and furious. We will certainly acknowledge the other learners as we go along.
Let them keep their fingers on the pulses, so that when we get to the practice session now in the next 2 slides or so, let's see if the answers will come through fast and furious as well.
I think also, Ms. Lewis, let's set an objective for the learners. Remember, the idea is that we want all of you to pass. Now, to pass, let's set a target of 100. Let's make it 100 out of 300. For section A, if you can get 20 out of 40, so that's just 50% of the answers correct in question A. Section A, I think you are on your way to passing. So if we can get 20, the key is that you must know your concepts. Okay. I think that is lacking with many of our learners. They don't know the language of business studies. So the terminology, they don't know the terminology firstly, and secondly, they don't know the meaning of those terms or concepts. As a grade 12 learner, it's expected from you to be able to remember, memorize those concepts and the meaning thereof. So learners, set yourself a target of 20 for section A, and then you are on your way. Ms. Lewis?
Okay, so the instruction at the start of the question for question 1 will be: various possible options are provided as answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question number. And here, learners, you'll see it will be 1.1.1 to 1.1.5. So ensure that your numbering is correct in your answer book. And so the first question is the following. This act regulates the procedures in the dismissal of workers. Option A, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. B, Employment Equity Act. C, Skills Development Act. D, Labor Relations Act. And so by now I'm sure you all know that the answer to this is, and the answer would be D, the Labor Relations Act. And the clue here would have been procedures in the dismissal of workers. The next question, question 1.1.2. An advantage of an autocratic leadership style is: A, it allows for input and skills from a number of workers. B, it is beneficial when decisions need to be made quickly. C, it is less effective when workers have high skills levels. D, workers feel motivated because they are part of the decision-making process. And so, as I was reading it, I already eliminated the obviously incorrect answer. And so, learners, without saying, the answer is B.
I can already hear them shouting out, "It's B, miss, it's B."
Yeah.
You're going to get an opportunity to send us the answer via WhatsApp or SMS. Ms. Lewis, before you continue, I just need to acknowledge this school. This is Bulelani Secondary School has got 157 learners, and we are watching and enjoying. Thanks for the program. Isn't that superb?
That is amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
And so learners, all of you who are tuned in, practice with us as we walk through the next question.
We've already got a question. What about the format of the essays? Yes,
We're getting there.
I think it's Subelele. Subelele, we will certainly get to that section where we're going to show you how to practice writing essays.
The next question. So something is an employee's complaint. Oh dear. Is an employee's complaint regarding a breach of the terms of his or her employment contract? A. Conflict. B. Critical thinking. C. Arbitration. D. Grievance procedure. And the answers, learners, would be D. Moving on, and I just am glancing at the screen, and from 4949, I see that you have sent in the correct answer, namely D.
Well done.
Well done. Question 1.1.5. Sorry. Employers are legally forced to pay a skills levy when their total salary expenses are more than a certain amount per year.
Now, that's a very popular question. Eh? They like to ask that question. So learners, it will be interest to remember this. And Ms. Lewis, the answer is?
The answer is D.
D.
Okay.
Okay. Can we just briefly talk about the one word that needs to be written next, or the one word answers? How do they approach that?
Okay, so first of all, the instruction is very clear, and this is the next instruction that you'll find on your question paper in question 1. Complete the following statements by using the words in the list below. Write only the word next to the question number in the answer book. And so you'll be given a block, and it will contain all the terms or concepts that they want to test, and you will be required to select the correct term from the list given. Again, read through the 5 statements given and try to match the most appropriate term to each statement. Write the correct term next to the correct number in your answer book, and you will do exactly the same thing when you do the matching columns question.
Ms. Lewis, we just got a message from a learner from 1797, and that learner said you forgot 1.14.
Okay, I'm apologizing for that, but we do need to get to the essay questions as
Yes.
well, so we may not cover every single question on the PowerPoint, so learners, bear with us. You will have access to this a little bit later, and then you can check that out.
Absolutely.
And so for the next section, 1.2, that's the block, sir. Can we just have the question statements? And so 1.2.1 reads, the something personality always displays dissatisfaction about things, but never tend to do anything about the situation. The second, okay, go ahead. The answer there would be the negative personality displays dissatisfaction about things. And so you would have found that in the block. 1.2.2, the statement reads, businesses deal with key processes through a quality management system to ensure that the required standards are met. The third question, sir. Namaqua Butter Limited applied the what type of integration strategy when they took over Pixley Kasema Margarine Limited? And the answer there would be the horizontal integration strategy. 1.2.4, something or lump sums which is paid out upon retirement. And learners, you all know the answer to this one, I'm sure, and that is annuities. Then 1.2.5, something marketing act occurs when businesses use larger packaging to make the content look more. And the answer there is deceptive marketing. So I'm sure you all got 5 out of 5 for that particular section. And if you had gotten 5 out of 5, it would have been 5 times 2 marks each. So you would get your 10 marks there.
Ms. Lewis, just important, the learners must never leave this section of the question blank.
Yes.
The ideal would be for you to get the correct answer, but if in any event you do not know the correct answer, then at least try any of those options that they do give you. Just don't repeat any options. You only allowed one answer per question.
And so now we're moving on to the match column A and column B. And so the official instruction would be choose a description from column B that matches the term in column A. Write only the letter next to the question number in the answer book. And so therefore we're emphasizing numbering and correct numbering again. And so the first question there, you will see column A and column B, 1.3.1, 1.3.2, 1.3.3, 1.3.4, 1.3.5 have all the concepts. And in column B, those are the explanations. So let's look at 1.3.1. Piecemeal remuneration. The answer to that one would be number G. Payment on units produced. Concentric diversification. That answer would be
Ms. Lewis, we're getting answers here. We've got the answer from 1797, 1.31, the answer G. I think that learner is brilliant, eh? The second one.
the second one. So the answer for 1.3.2 is H.
Third one.
The third one, team dynamic theories, you've already given them the answer. And that is to assist to allocate tasks according to the roles of individual members. And then unemployment insurance fund, if you look at the options in column B, the answer can only be E, compulsory insurance. And finally, total client satisfaction. The answer there, if you look at the remaining options given, can only be I.
Can only be I. Yes, that 7879 also gave 1.34 as E, as the correct answer. Well, our learners did quite well looking at the responses, and I'm telling you the SMSs and the WhatsApp messages is coming so fast and furious. I won't be able to acknowledge all the schools, but please let us know where you are. I saw one where they said there was more than 200 learners from one particular school also watching with the educators. Now, I think that needs to be acknowledged, and we really appreciate that. Ms. Lewis, so learners, you could see now going through section A, it's possible for you to get 20 out of 40. If you know your work, the answers will just pop up.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, section B.
And so in section B, what is important to remember is that you have to choose 3 questions. And here, numbering is very important again. Please do not leave out any questions in this section. Read through the questions very carefully from questions 2 to question 6 and choose the 3 that you know the best, the 3 that you've really studied. And so the instruction will read, clearly indicate the question number of each question that you choose. The answer to each question must start on a new page. And here, learners, it's important. So if you're going to start with question 2, because that is the question that you know the best, then you will write at the top of your page question 2. And you will work through question 2 systematically with however many questions there are. And once you've completed question 2, you will then choose the next question.
Cool.
And if the next question is question 3, then you will start with question 3 on a completely new page. And you will head that question 3.
Ms. Lewis, I must read this SMS. It's from Skenjana in the Eastern Cape. They say they have got 350 learners sitting in a wall, all watching this presentation, and they are thoroughly enjoying it. There is the other one from 5053 says, Madam, you are too fast. And Madam, could you just explain why you need to go at a little bit faster pace?
Learners, I'm apologizing that we have to move quite quickly. We understand that you may not have the material in front of you, so the pace may seem a little bit fast, but we do have a few questions in section B and 2 essay questions that we need to look at so that we can do that within the next 20 minutes.
Yes.
And so question,
Yeah, before we get to that, section B. Now, learners, remember we would like to get to 100 marks. In section B, you've got to answer 3 questions, and each question is worth 60 marks. That is a total of 180. Now, if you look at the question paper, if it's a balanced question paper, 30% of those questions or the marks should be what we call lower order questions. So it would be questions like Mrs. Lewis' name, questions like list, questions like identify, lower order questions. So you should be able to answer those questions. So if 30% is of 180, that would be about 60 marks that you can easily get as lower order questions. Because all you need to do is list it, name it, identify it. So if you can get 60 marks there for section B, you've already got 80. 80, and you just need another 20 to get to your 100. So let's just see quickly, how can you get that 60? Ms. Lewis, what are the tips you can give them?
so we've already spoken about how to choose the questions, not to leave out any answers, work through the question in its entirety but leave enough space so that you can work through the question in the given 30 minutes, because you have 30 minutes to complete every single question on the question paper. And remember, in section B you're choosing 3, in section C you're choosing 2. Also remember that if you've left out something as you've worked through the question, before moving on to the next question, just quickly go back and see if you have remembered the answer to the question and write it in. In that way you don't also mess up your numbering.
I think that's an important tip, eh?
Okay. And so the first question here, let's look at this question. It says outline 2 functions of the Johannesburg Security Exchange. Now learners, this question is weighted at 4 marks, and what is important is for you to know that they are asking you a specific number of functions, namely 2 functions. So that means that when you plan your answer, you must write 2 best functions that you remember. And so the answer could look like this: serves as a link between investors and entrepreneurs, and you will then be awarded 2 marks. And the next one, keeps investors informed by publishing the shares in newspapers daily. And you may write a third one, but remember the question asked you for 2 functions, so therefore whoever marks your paper will stop marking after your second answer. So remember to write the best answers that you can remember.
Ms. Lewis, so are you telling me that if they write 5 answers and the first 2 are incorrect,
Then they will score no marks.
they will score no marks?
They will score no
The
marks.
markers won't look at the last 3.
No, they won't. They will stop marking after the second, simply because the question is specific. It asks for 2 functions.
Wow. Okay, cool. Learners, please remember that. Let's go to the next question.
So the next question, learners, reads, differentiate between insurance and assurance. Now, this question, the cognitive verb in the front, differentiate, means you must distinguish between or show the difference. And so when you look at the mark allocation, you're going to see that 2 marks will be awarded to insurance and 2 marks will be awarded to assurance. So what's important is for you to show the difference between insurance and assurance. You do not have to do it in the table form as I have done it. What is important to remember is that you have to keep your concepts together. So let's first look at the table. In the table, it's set out very clearly. You have insurance that is based on the principle of indemnity, and it covers a specific event that may occur. Then if you look at assurance, It's based on the principle of security and covers a specific event that is certain, but the time it may happen is not certain.
Ms. Lewis, can we just go back to this one? So you are telling me that if I write on the principle of insurance, then I need to write on the principle of assurance opposite that.
Opposite or under,
Opposite or under.
if not in a table form,
Unless they ask you, the learners to tabulate.
unless they ask. What is important for the learners to know about this particular question is differentiate means to show the difference between insurance and assurance. And sometimes it's just useful to do something in a table because you keep all of your facts together and there's no room for it getting mixed up.
Right.
Moving on to the next question. And Mr. Momberg, I think I'm going to read the case study for you here. And then you could work through the calculation with the learners.
Certainly we'll do that.
So Piri Proprietary Limited bought images amounting to 300,000 rand, and it was, I think the damages was caused by a fire.
Yes.
And so the question reads, calculate the amount that Piri Proprietary Limited will receive from the insurance company. And here, learners, you are required to show all the calculations. And this question is weighted at 4 marks.
Yeah, I think some of the information is missing from this one. The first one was how much did they insure the images for, or the property for, and what was the market value of that property. So you need 3 things. You need the amount that the asset was insured for, and in this case it was 800,000 rand. What was the market value? The market value was actually 1.2 million. And so you can already see they didn't insure it for the amount for which it was valued. And then finally, what was the damage? Now the damage was 300,000. If they put in a claim, the insurance company is not going to pay them out that 300,000 because they underinsured
Yes.
the property. Now you need to know, if you get a calculation like this, how do you calculate that answer? Firstly, you need to write down your formula. Now learners, try and memorize the formula. Write it down on a piece of paper and paste it on the wall, paste it on the door of the fridge, paste it on the ceiling. So wherever you walk, you can see that formula. Calculate under insurance formula. And the formula is insured amount divide by the market value times the damages. And in the exams, if you write this down, you will get 1 mark as part of the answer. Now that's already 1 mark, and it didn't even start with the calculations. Now to get the next mark is even easier, because now you need to substitute into the formula.
Yeah.
And so how do we do that? We've got the insured amount, and I indicated that amount is 800,000. We've got the market value, and that is 1.2 million. And what was the damage of the property? The damage was 300,000, and we write it over 1.
Yes.
And all we need to do is we need to see if you can cancel out some of these notes. So these 3 notes go, those 2 and that 2 go, so you'll be left over with, if that 5 note goes out and that cancels with that 5, you'll be left with 8 over 12. And so if we take 8 times 300,000 and you divide it by 12, the answer would be 200,000. So they put in a claim for 300,000, which was the actual damage, but because they underinsured, they are only going to be paid out 200,000. Now, the mark allocation. You're always encouraged to show all calculations because that's the instruction. But if you work out the question on a piece of paper and you just write down the correct answer as 200,000, Ms. Lewis, what is the consequences of that?
Learners, if you give the correct answer and you don't show your calculations, and this is a very risky thing to do, but if the answer is correct, you will be awarded all of the marks. So you'll be awarded all 4 marks.
Ms. Lewis, we've got some learners that are wide awake and they're asking, where did you get the 800,000 from and where did you get the 1.2 million from? Now we need to apologize, that information was omitted from the slide. But yes, in your scenario, they will clearly indicate that the market value, you bought the property for 1.2 million and it was only insured for 800,000. So no, you're not reading, that won't be the full scenario that will be given. It will be the totals that you need to do the calculation will be given.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. We'll be running out of time, sir. So we
I wonder if you can go to the, I would like to get to this one. That one. Can you explain that one to us quickly, Mrs. Lewis?
Again, it's a similar kind of question to the first one that we started with, where there's a scenario, namely John and Mary want to present information to their staff using a PowerPoint presentation. And then the question wants you to outline 2 advantages of a PowerPoint presentation. And again, learners, it's important that they are asking for a specific number and it's weighted at 4 marks. So therefore, you only are going to write 2 of your best answers, responses to this question. And that would be that it captures the interest of the audience and it's a good way to support what the presenter is saying. Remember, because they asked for 2, so even if you write 3 answers, you will only be marked on the first 2 answers.
Yeah, I think that point has been brought across loud and clear, and I'm sure learners will not repeat that. Melanie, we are pressed for time, so we just need to go through the answering of the essay type questions. So questions are still coming in, and learners are responding fast and furious, and we really like to thank them and really acknowledge. Unfortunately, we could not acknowledge all of you, but at the end of the session, we'll try and get some more schools' names out. And
I think, Mr. Momberg, let's just go back to that question quickly.
Which one?
That one.
Yes.
Just go one slide back for me, please. Learners, what's important about, just again, one slide back. What's important about this particular question is the following. It asks you to evaluate the impact of Justin's leadership style as identified from a scenario. And when the question requires you to evaluate the impact, please remember that you have to do the positives as well as the negatives. So if you could just show the learners the slide on the positives, that's one slide back. And so when you answer, you have to write both positives or advantages in your answer as well as the negatives. And you could write maybe 2 positives and 2 negatives or disadvantage, and in that way you will still then get your 8 marks.
Thank you for that, Ms. Lewis. We're still getting a lot of queries with regard to that 800,000 and 1.2 million. Let me just refer to those who've got a copy of this resource booklet on page number 5. You'll find it under question 3.3, the scenario with all the correct answers, all the details that is required for you to do that question. Ms. Lewis, there are so many coming in. We will acknowledge them later on. Okay, section C. What's important there? What are the tips that you can give the learners?
What's important, learners, about section C is to remember that you need to choose 2 essay questions. Now, many learners are still, when they take the exams, leaving out one question, sometimes even both, and that's absolutely not necessary. Once you've chosen the 2 that you know the best, something else that's important is remember that each essay has a specific format. It must have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And you actually have to write the word introduction. And when you write the word introduction, you need to have 2 sentences under that particular heading. Then you're going to move on to the main section of your essay, the content section that's known as the body of the essay, and you will then analyze it according to the essay question. You will conclude your essay by writing the heading, conclusion, and then you will conclude it by writing 1 sentence which is related to the topic of the essay question. So let's look at an essay question. And this is in the resource booklet as well. This is based on business environments. So this would be a question 7. And here is a scenario. The scenario is Checker Mining is a new mine operating in the Northern Cape. This mine wants to be an employer who are sensitive to human rights, the environment and inclusivity. They were advised to formulate this into their policies. As an expert on human rights issues, write an essay on the following aspects. And so here, learners, you need to be listening very carefully, because as you unpack the essay and you read through the essay, you will discover what sections, what paragraphs you are going to have to create in your body or the main section. So the first thing you have to do is explain how Checker Mining can promote 5 human rights issues in the workplace. Then the second bullet, you have to discuss the benefits of a diverse workforce. In the third bullet, advise the business on how to deal with gender and poverty issues in the workplace. And the fourth bullet of the question requires you to recommend ways in which Checker Mining can protect the environment and promote human health. And so, in terms of this particular question, when you answer the question, in your introduction, you need to write the word introduction, and your 2 sentences can consist of anything that is about diversity or about the impact of business actions on the environment. Those will be adequate for your introduction and will help you get your 2 marks. Then in the body of your essay, the first bullet of the question asks you to list 5 human rights issues in the workplace. So here you would make the heading 5 human rights issues in the workplace, and you will proceed to discuss each of those 5 human rights issues. At this point, it is also preferable to give examples. Once you have finished with the 5 human rights issues, you will move on to your next paragraph, which will be headed Benefits of the Diverse Workforce. Once you've completed that, you'll skip a line and move on to the third aspect of the question, which you have to complete, which is how to deal with gender and poverty issues in the workplace. And you will then answer that particular section. Once you have completed the third section, you'll move on to the fourth. And at this point, when you make this heading, ways to protect the environment and promote human health, this is where your first insight mark will be awarded in terms of analysis. You would then complete that particular section and you would move on to conclusion. You'll write the heading. This would give you another layout mark, and you will conclude your essay with 1 sentence. So now, just to recap quickly, you've written your introduction, you've got your body and your conclusion, so you get the 2 layout marks. You have addressed all of the main sections and you've gotten your analysis marks.
Ms. Lewis, thank you very much. Let's just get to 100 marks quickly. Now remember I said 30% of the essays will also be lower order questions: name, identify, list. 20% of 80 is 16, and you will end up with 96 marks, and that is a pass for business studies. So I trust that you'll get your 96. Just one question that the learner asked: must the essay be written in point form? And the answer is one word?
Definitely not one word, sir.
One word?
One fact, new line. So for every fact, you write your fact on a new line.
Answer must be written in point form. Learners, thank you very much. Mrs. Lewis, thank you for your time and for the professional manner in which you explain the work and for your expertise, sharing that with the learners. It's truly appreciated by the hundreds of SMSs and WhatsApp messages that we got. Learners, we want to wish you well. Please go and study your work. Study it effectively, efficiently. Use your time wisely. Prepare properly and you will be successful. Please send me an email, ldmomwork@gmail.com, and I will forward you a copy of the resource booklet and the PowerPoint. Ms. Liz, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Learners, until next time, goodbye.